This is a lot of HO scale stuff. What's going on here? Well, I'm going to answer that plus some more questions right now. Hey everybody, my name's Jimmy. I'm drinking some Tim Hortons today, and let's talk about some of the coffees that you guys are drinking. Matty Loco is drinking Black Rifle coffee. Oakley Skidmore is drinking Cafe Bustelo with heavy cream, and RVA is drinking Keurig Intelligentsia House with cream and sugar. So if you want to tell me what type of coffee you're drinking, leave that in the comments below. If you don't want to hear what type of coffee I'm drinking, just skip this section of the video. I'm going to keep doing it for the people that keep saying that. So Charles McClure, he asked me, is there an Arduino for dummies yet? I haven't looked for one. I wouldn't be surprised if there is one, but there are also loads of Arduino tutorials. Remember, Arduinos were originally built for an educational purpose, so there are tons of tutorials out there. Arduino's been around for close to 20 years now. So thank you very much for that question, Charles. Brian Smith asked, have you compared the two types of 3D printers? I actually recently did an update to my 3D printers and model railroading video. I'm going to link that at the end of this video, but basically with filament printers, you're going to want to be looking at larger size but less detail. It's going to take a little bit more to get it more detailed. And with resin printers, you're going to typically have smaller sizes in terms of the amount that you can make, but you're going to have a lot more detail, but you're going to have to deal with a lot more cleanup and careful cleanup because of the resin, which you really don't want to get on your hands. Kent ask, where can I send me local coffee to try? Well, Kent, if you can email me at the email in the description below, that's ddrrcommunity@gmail.com, I can give you an address to send me some coffee to try. I would absolutely love that. Thank you, Kent. Rabbit Hole Railroad asks if I'm coming over to the light side or HO scale. Well, I don't know if I'd call that the light side. I'm still an N-scaler at heart, but overall I just love model railroading. I've done N-scale, HO scale, O scale, and G scale in my entire career, and I plan on trying some Z scale as long as some other scales. I may even try the really tiny T scale, the 1 in 450, I think. Yeah, that one, that little tiny one. I've been thinking about trying that one. So, but yes, the next railroad I'm building, MR2, is going to be an HO scale model railroad. Thomas Myers asks, what is the best N-scale locomotive manufacturer in my opinion, especially for sound and DCC? Well, this is kind of a complicated question because sometimes the best decoder is not put in the best manufacturer, but there's a lot of good ones out there. So I'm going to go with a couple of my favorites. So my nicest locomotive that really runs well that I have is my Scale Trains rivet counter, and that thing is great. It has an ESU decoder in it, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. I love that locomotive. It runs well, it sounds great, it looks great, it's extremely well detailed for N-scale. If I'm going for just the solid runners, I'm going to go with Kato. Those things are, I'm not going to say bulletproof, but they're pretty dang tough. They're not going to be the most detailed model that you can get. I also like Atlas in terms of N-scale. I have an Atlas-8, number 8345. That's a great locomotive as well, and it's got sound in it too, and it has a lot of details like flashing ditch lights and things like that. So really my three main go-tos in N-scale are Atlas, Kato, and Scale Trains. Those are my three big go-tos that I really, really like. I do have an Athearn N-scale locomotive on pre-order that's going to be coming in soon, and I got a couple more Scale Trains operator locomotives that are on pre-order. They're going to be coming in by the end of the year, hopefully. So those are mine. I don't really have any overly negative things. I have had some issues with Broadway Limited. I think I've talked about this before, where the locomotives are very jittery and jumpy to the point where you just can't run them that well, and this is apparently a common issue with Broadway Limited N-scale. And those are diesels, but overall, those are my three big ones: Kato, Atlas, and Scale Trains. Those are the three that I really love. DL Hemingway asks about building an ON30 layout, which if those of you that don't know what ON30, it's basically narrow gauge O scale, which basically uses HO gauge track to do O scale. So a lot of people use it to model the narrow gauge railroads that were out west in the late 1800s and things like that. You also have HON3, which is the equivalent in HO scale. But he wants to use a couple of 36-inch by 80-inch plain hollow core doors as kind of a slab base in an L configuration. And he wants to do continuous running, and will have to use 15-inch radius curves at the ends and perhaps on inside curves at the joint between the leg and the foot. And he has a Bachmann 260 moguls, and he's asking if it will be okay to have the tight curves in areas as mentioned. The main thing I would check is check what Bachmann says the minimum radius is on these locomotives, because 15 is a pretty tight radius for HO scale. I know they make the track, and I know that you're trying to work within that. So one thing I might consider is, rather than, if you already have the doors, you can put maybe some slightly longer boards. Just getting it out to maybe 40 inches would let you get that 18-inch safely on there, because 18 inches is going to be right at that edge of 36 inches. So maybe putting some boards on top of those hollow core doors that gets you out to a 40-inch depth if you have space for that. You can even do it just partially where the turns are. But that's really what you're going to want to be looking at. 15 inches is tight in general for HO scale, and I have never run or built an ON30 layout. I have to add that to my list. And I would just double check on that and see what your minimum radii is. But I have a feeling that 18 inches is really going to be the minimum, especially for ON30 and larger stuff. If you have a question to ask me, you can put it in the comments below for next month's Q&A video. Thank you all so much for watching. The videos I mentioned are linked right here. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.